How do you find the will to fight back against a world that wants to keep you sedated, average, and stuck in place? Join us for the tools and strategies you need to create a life of abundance, discipline, and high achievement. This is the Tactical Empire with Jeff Smith.
Welcome to another edition of the Tactical Empire. Today, I am excited to be joined by Donnie Boivin, owner of Success Champions Networking. And Donnie was a Marine, so we're going to cut him some slack today.
Purple crayons.
We'll see what that goes. But thanks for coming on, bro. I'm excited to have you.
Yeah, dude. Already with the quick conversation we've had already, you can tell it's gonna be a good, fun conversation, and it's hopefully we can pour into your listeners and give them some real damn value.
Well, we were already talking offline about your business concepts that you like. What brought about the Success Champions Networking as a business, and I want to elaborate on that and go down that road a little bit because
sure.
I've been in the service industry for a long time, and so your answers kind of piqued my interest. So
Now I'll tell the story of how I got on here because I think it'd be really good for your listeners to know my background. But I was a 20-year sales guy. I mean, I turned 40, and that was the first time I even knew that you could do this thing called start a business, be an entrepreneur, whatever the hell you want to call it. There's so many misused words. It's funny. But so I launched my company, and within 24 hours of launching my company, I got slapped with an international non-compete that I don't remember signing. So my last career was with an organization called Sandler Training, and supposedly I was one of the top sales trainers in the country. Not really sure what that means, other than I'm good at flapping my gums in front of a room. So my first year in business, I couldn't talk about sales, business development, sales training, sales management anywhere in the world. So trying to build a business, dude, 6 months into building my business, my wife's Jeep got repossessed. We almost lost our farm to foreclosure. Literally, my wife and I both had to cash in our 401ks to get her Jeep back and save the farm. I luckily found podcasting and launched my first show, and it took off. And we got to a place where some really big names, household names that you know, were reaching out to be guests on the show. And I realized really quick that I couldn't have a shit show of a process if I had these bigger names coming on. So podcasting actually saved my business because it taught me operations and how to hire and how to put processes in place and systems and all the cool things. So based off of the podcast success, I launched a podcast consulting firm.
okay,
And that took off. We built that to a quick 6 figures in no time flat just because we had found some cool success. And then in September of 2018, my non-compete was no longer a thing. So I decided to go ahead and see how much I could confuse the network by launching a sales training company. So now I had a podcast consulting company. I also had a sales training company, right? So I built the sales training company up to multiple 6 figures, and now nobody knew what I was doing. They're like, are you a podcast consultant? Are you a sales trainer? Who are you? Then the pandemic hits.
okay,
And when the pandemic hit, we saw that the whole world was moving online. Well, prior to launching my companies, I ran several local networking groups here in Fort Worth, Texas. I ran like 11 from the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce, and I had 6 on my own. They were all B2B that I ran because it was just easier to do things my way, run them my way. But when I launched my company, I didn't want to do networking at all, right? I wanted to go a different direction. But when the pandemic hit, it was just one of those moments where I tell everybody it's kind of like Liam Neeson. I had a skill set and I knew how to use it. So
Sure.
I launched freaking Success Champions Networking in March of 20. And now it's literally the fastest growing organization of its type in the world right now. We continue to grow and scale, but we bring B2B service-based businesses together and actually teach them the business development game so we can get into bigger deals, bigger conversations. So that's the nickel tour of how I got here.
I love it. I love it. So are you still actively running all 3 companies?
No, we actually, because of the success of the networking groups, we shut down the other 2 companies.
Okay.
we were putting so much energy and effort into the networking groups because they were taking off as fast as they were,
Mhm.
that it was affecting what we could do with clients. Instead of trying to go down the path of selling it off, I actually transferred a lot of that business over to another company on both of them and gave them
Sure.
clients just so we could get out of it and the customers were still taken care of.
Yeah, yeah. That's smart. That's
So,
smart. So what are you seeing now that we're post pandemic? How has that changed your business? So your first year you were definitely virtual or
yep,
whatever
yep,
from
yep.
March 20. And then how has your business evolved throughout the past 3 years?
Well, I would, if anybody's done any networking, they've heard of it. So we started out looking like a BNI, out the gate. Just it was a formation we knew, right? It's a world we understood. And then, we instantly set out the gate. Okay, cool. We're not going to allow any multi-level marketing, any network marketing, anything like that in there. But as we started going along, we had the B2C game. And when the housing market crashed again or went to the tough times and the rates went through the roof, we lost all the B2C clientele because their jobs just went away.
Yeah.
And so we were instantly like, okay, cool. We know the answer. We're going to go B2B. So we changed everything over to B2B. And then we totally realized that successful B2B focus, either salespeople or owners of companies, and they don't have time to drive into town and lose half a day going to a meeting and then driving back home. So we stayed virtual, and that allowed us to differentiate and really scale. Then we focused on a lot of business growth strategies and actually teaching the business development game, because a lot of people get into sales and then nobody's showing them how to actually go be a salesperson. So we put
Sure.
a lot of education, a lot of training in that arena. And people started really leaning in just because of how much we were able to pour into people. And that led to us doing summits and continuing to build out the network. And now we have even networking organizations coming to us wanting to know if we would acquire them. So those are some interesting conversations to get into, because everybody wants what we've got dialed in.
Sure. Sure. So walk me through like what your product looks like.
Mm.
Like what's your offering then?
Yep.
If you're coming to
So
me, sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good. You're good. You're good. So what we do is typically we'll go into a territory and we'll find somebody that's just a rock star that gets it, understands the game, understands networking. And I think you have to define networking to explain our offering. So for me, networking is not about referrals. Referrals come from your clients. Let me explain this. So a referral is Bob meets Sally. Sally's looking for your stuff, excited to meet with you, right? There's a sales call attached to that introduction. Okay. Networking is about getting introduced to the right people, the right rooms, and the right opportunities. Has nothing to do with referrals. Referrals should come from your clients.
Right.
Okay. Referrals can come from your network, but your primary source for referrals needs to come from your clients. Service the hell out of them, overserve them, freaking take care of them. They'll tell everybody about you and open the world up to you. Cool. So if you understand that philosophy, you understand the power of collaborations and getting into the right conversations and being in the right rooms to hear the right conversations happening.
Yep.
So what we tell everybody is we're going to bring, 15 to 30 service-based businesses together, and we're going to pour into your business. We're going to teach you not only how do you network at an extremely higher level so you can get into the right conversations. We're going to facilitate a weekly 1-hour meeting with 5 different meeting formats. That is, get in, let's get business done. None of this fluff, stupid jingles, and all the other crap you may hear in a lot of other networking. It's cool. Who do you need to meet? How can we get you there? Right? How can we introduce? And so if you think about it from that perspective, we have meetings that meet every week, and people aren't talking about the end clientele they need. They're talking about who they need to be introduced to, who are already working with their perfect clientele. So let's say you're a background screening drug testing company, right? Very rarely am I going to hear a company who's looking for background screening and drug testing, right? So constantly telling a group of people that I need to meet people who are looking for drug screenings just ain't going to get you anywhere, right?
Sure.
But if you know that there's certain industries who also focus on the clientele that regularly need background screenings, like HR consultants and payroll companies and PEO, right? Now, if you tell everybody, hey, look, I'm looking to meet every PEO, every payroll company, every freaking HR consulting firm that you know, now you're going to get a ton of introductions to these people. And if you meet 100 people that their end client is your same end client, you're going to make so many cool synergistic opportunities and open so many doors through this level of networking. And so we teach this style ongoing. And then people pay $47 a month or $470 for the year. For all this, and there's tons of training, different meetings, all Zoom, the ability to go visit. Once you're a member, you can go visit every chapter we have throughout North America. I don't want to make this sound like an infomercial just for the groups, but shit, you gave me the platform, I'm going to take it. But we really changed how networking is done, because networking was created by a bunch of people who couldn't sell. Right. So if you go back and you look at the histories, everything that's taught in networking they teach it from the perspective like networking is the only thing you should be doing. If networking is the only thing you're doing, you're going to lose.
Yep.
Right. There's so many other business development activities you got to be doing. And once you understand that networking is just a portion of your business development strategy, it'll dynamically change the game.
Well, that's pretty fascinating to me, because like I consider myself like a connector at my core. Like it's what I do. I put people in touch with other people that facilitate magic, if you will. So like you're doing that on a business scale though.
Yep. 100%.
Because the biggest lesson I heard from you, and I think it's 100% spot on, is that like the most important aspect you can do as a business owner is make sure that your fulfillment is dialed in, because like the referrals come from you actually following through and doing what you say you're going to do.
Absolutely.
Purchase. It's not like send me more customers through networking. So like, which is what BNI is, in my experience with BNI, at least.
And BNI is a great organization too, right? I mean, it's where everybody goes to learn how to network, right? You get your first taste of networking. At some point, most people grow beyond it, right?
Sure.
And it's once they've grown beyond, that's where we're looking for them. But the one thing that BNI gets wrong, fundamentally wrong, is the idea of giver's gain. It is fucking wrong. And it's so simple when people understand it. If you only give, you will be taken advantage of. Because think about the people that all they do is help other people, connect other people, and all they do. Eventually, everybody comes to them and says, hey, can I do this for me? Hey, can you do this for me? And they get taken advantage of. So you can't do the giver's gain. It's a surefire way to lose. What you can do is give, take, give. Okay? You sit across from somebody and say, cool, who do you need to meet? Boom. Let me make those introductions. Right then and there, you open up the doors and you make the freaking introductions. Then you specifically need to know what industry people you need to be connected to. Like what industry sends you the most referrals? What industries are focused on the same end user you are? And after you open 3 to 5 introductions for somebody, you need to say, hey, is it okay if I tell you who I'd like to meet? And like for me, I always tell people I want to meet your podcasters because I want to get on their shows. And people all the time, after I've done 3 to 5 introductions, will go, well, I don't think I know any podcasters. I'm like, do you mind jumping on LinkedIn really quick? And they're like, sure. I'm like, cool. Type in podcaster in the search box, click on search, first connections. And 9 times out of 10, like, oh crap, I actually know a couple of podcasters. I'm like, you okay making those introductions? They're like, absolutely. Right. Because you've already greased the wheel.
Yeah.
And so you have to take, or networking will never work for you. People were like, man, I open so many doors, I help so many people, and then I don't get anything back. It's because you're not taking.
Interesting. I'm letting that percolate for a minute.
I love picking this fight because everybody's been told giver's gain, give.
I think that has to be a personality situation though, because like I believe that universally that I get back in spades what I put out there, but I don't. This is why I say it's a personality situation though, because I have no problem asking for what I need when I know that I need it.
You're taking.
Yes, yes. But I feel like I build up so much relationship capital prior to that, that it's an absolute no-brainer. Like
We're
anybody.
saying the same thing,
Sure,
right?
sure.
What I want to get people idea around is like for me, when I first started networking, I heard givers gain. Give to others, support other, and dude, I did. I was selling commercial printing where the average deal was $50 to $100,000, right? Imagine
Okay.
trying to sell something like that in BNI, and I'm not bashing on BNI. It's just it's not meant for your commercial freaking salespeople.
No.
And so I was opening doors. I was giving referrals. I was doing all this work and not seeing anything out of it after a ton of time of energy put into it. And what I finally had to come to the realization is I was never asking for it,
Sure.
right? People always assumed that I was doing amazing, that I was doing wonderful. So nobody ever opened doors. So this is just like asking for the sale for me. This is very much that same arena of, hey, is it okay if I tell you what I need or who I need to be introduced to? And it just changes the dynamic of the philosophy for me.
Wouldn't that be a wrong fit though? That
Oh,
you
100% in that situation. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Eventually I found the chambers and other places that I could go network and ultimately launch my own stuff. But yeah, a commercial printer had no business being in a BNI.
because all I heard like is I sell $500,000 Caterpillar equipment and I'm at BNI.
Right,
Fucking
right, right, right.
shit.
So,
Like, I wonder why
and
I can't sell this land moving equipment.
right. And God love, the people in BNI. I got nothing against them.
Sure.
And I got nothing against the B2C game. It's just they're never going to be talking to decision makers,
Right.
you know, and that's where the fundamental difference is. You get a room full of people that are going, with their average deal is 50, 100,000, $500,000. It's a whole different level and dynamic of a conversation. Like
So is that
little,
who tell me this. So is that who you're putting together? Is that your avatar? So
so
your product
yes.
lines that are expensive, 5
Not
figures.
not not always that way. So we'll go very tactically inside of our groups. So we'll have people that do websites. We have people that'll do social media. We'll have people that do smaller ticket items.
Okay.
What we look at is inside of a group itself. So service-based business is really our determining factor, right? If you sell air, is the way I look at it. So which could be commercial insurance, could be freaking software, all these things I look fit in that realm. So we'll break it down inside of a category. Like one subsegment inside of one of our groups could be marketing. Well, marketing is going to consume your website, social media, graphic designers, all those type of things. We'll have one segment that's just HR, which covers your payroll, your PEO, your freaking consulting services, your background screening, drug test. We'll have one segment that's just consultants. Consultants are all going after the same business. So we're looking for the service-based businesses, and then we're creating these micro groups inside of the groups that can collectively go after the same clients.
Gotcha. I like that. Okay. So where do you see your business going and evolving to? Because it's still pretty young. It sounds like you've had
Yeah.
success, but like as far as businesses go, like 3 years old is not old.
No. So we're actually starting to look at the franchise model right now and deciding if that's going to be our next play because, a business like this is a perfect supplemental business for somebody that's already growing something. Like our most successful presidents that run, our different groups are doing it because they're literally just leveraging the group to grow their business.
Sure.
So I'll use Jessica as an example. She's a website development company, right? You very rarely ever hear somebody say, "Hey, I'm looking to build a website." You know anybody? You just don't get in that conversation. So what she found as she was a member, not even a president of one of the groups, is as she reached out even like on LinkedIn or at networking events saying, "Hey, are you looking for opportunities to network?" People will sometimes would say, "Yeah," but sometimes they're like, "Oh, well, what do you do?" And she'd say, "A website development company." And she's picked up a ton of business, not from people who joined the network, but for people she reached out to saying, "Hey, are you looking for networking?" They're like, "No, but I am looking for a website." You know,
Right.
so when you can find people that have that complementary type business to this thing, it works stupid well. And so that's why we're starting to look at the franchise landscape and see if that or licensing is going to be the play we go. Because there has to be some sort of structure and control down the line to maintain brand integrity with all of it.
Sure. Sure. Would you buy a territory then, or would there be
Yeah.
boundaries and things like that? Yeah.
Yeah. We've already had people step up into what we call territory leader roles. So like Jessica's now, she has all of DFW right now for us. We have Zach, who's in Atlanta. We have Jen Potter, who's up in New England area, Boston area. So we already have people that are moving into that territory leader role, which is just setting us the baseline for what franchising will likely be in the future.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, Donnie, what do you do outside of networking?
Thanks for that question. I actually really love it. So I run a full working farm. So I've got goats, chickens, ducks, turkeys, geese. So, and so we have dwarf Nigerian goats and quail. We produce a lot of quail here. So we built the farm as our hidey hole because I have a desire to be the most famous person that nobody in my hometown knows who the hell I am.
Yes.
So
now you're speaking my language. I like it. How long have you guys owned the farm?
So we bought that in 2016, almost exactly a year before I launched my company.
Okay.
So,
just in time to get hard.
Yeah. So imagine, you're living on high cotton, you buy your dream farm, and then, you got to look at your wife and go, hey, guess what? I probably shouldn't have left that job and started a company because here's where we're at.
Yeah. I did the same thing. I got married, bought a house, had a baby, and opened our gym in like 6 months.
Yeah.
And, it was not the best trajectory of events.
Dude, I tell everybody that the only way to be successful as an entrepreneur is be too dumb to quit.
Yep.
Because nobody in their right mind wakes up every day going, please life, beat the shit out of me today. More than a freaking entrepreneur does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Richter scale of emotions every single day.
I saw somebody put out a meme or a graphic, and it's literally looks like a heartbeat monitor, and it's like the life of an entrepreneur. It's like, oh, I'm crushing it. Oh shit, I'm gonna close my business. Oh, it's amazing. Oh, I just lost in the client. It's the absolute truth.
That is really how it goes, unfortunately, or fortunately. You just get
Right?
better at dealing with it. Like your mental state is tough to deal with through the first few years, and then you get used to it. Bigger problems.
I think from the farther I go, so I'm going to hit 6 years altogether in business, just in a couple days. And the thing that I'm actually finally starting to do is actually enjoy the building a business. There's so much to freaking learn, and there's so much that you got to wrap your head around, and you can put a lot of weight on your shoulders if you don't make a couple of the right moves. And so I'm really starting to enjoy how to turn off the noise and get completely dialed in and get the company where it needs to go. I think one of the things that I screwed up heavy early on is I kept consuming way too much crap. Everybody's got an answer, a solution. And it's like, I love Alex Hormozi and his stuff. I wish his stuff wouldn't have hit the fucking marketplace, because now so many people are going to be trying to do his thing right now and do it the way he did it. And 99% of the people aren't going to be able to pull it off. And all that's going to do is derail them from actually building their business, because they're over here trying to do this stuff versus just doing your old school blocking and tackling. Go find people that need your services, sell to those people, get them as clients, service the hell out of them, freaking get referrals from them, and go again and again and again. You're not going to be able to pull off the Hormozi way. You got to do your way. And then once your way is successful, then come back and look at doing, okay, how do we add the Hormozi methodology to what we've learned?
That's yes. And there needs to be a balance between like education versus action. Cause like you can get caught up in that like educational masturbation, and it can it can span years of your life, if I'm being quite honest with you. Like, I mean, hey, I'm going to go be a web designer. I'm going to learn all about it. Like, just dig and dig and dig and dig. And like, you never hit China. And Like I see so many people do that, or they just get overwhelmed, and it's paralysis by information because there's too many inputs.
Yep.
And they get to like 97% before launch, and they never finish the 3%. And like it's so much better. That's one of the things, as you were talking, that I kind of was smiling internally about, because I've been at it for, I don't know, 12 or 15 years in my business career. And like one of the things that's come, I don't know if it's from having 4 kids and life just being chaos, or it's just getting a little older. Like I'm so much more patient in the process though. Like I used to be a psychopath, like
Right.
type A, like I would just run through the wall, get out of my way. I'm on this mission. If you're not coming with me, then either get the hell out of the way or get on the bus. And I feel like I have calmed down tremendously throughout the years and understood that this is really what it is. Like what we're doing right now is all there is.
Yeah.
Like the process is all there is. So why get wrapped around the axle stressing out about trying to move it forward? You should move things forward. So don't misunderstand me. But like it cannot be at the detriment of everything else around you, because like this is all there is.
Oh, 100%, dude. 2 things that I've learned on this journey, more than anything else, I'm 100% in agreement with you. One is to get singularly focused. Man, the minute we shut down the podcast company and the sales training company to do nothing but the networking groups, dude, it was like Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams when he's like, turn off the mechanism, and the screen just gets zoned in on the baseball diamond. And the business really took off when we did that because we were just singularly focused on that. The second thing was I was in a room that I paid a stupid amount of money to go network at, and I was the smallest fish by leaps and bounds in this freaking room. And it was the coolest moment for me because one of the things that I learned by being in that room is I'm very similar to you. I'm a bull in a damn china shop most times. But these guys who were so successful were quietly assertive is the best way I can put it.
Yep.
Nobody in there was whipping their dick out on the table trying to say, this is who I am. These guys, you knew just by their presence that they were doing big things. There was nobody, they weren't even hardly talking about business. They were talking about life. And up until that point, dude, I'd always been the guy that would walk up to you, hey, what do you do for a living? Right. And go straight for the business conversations. And in that room, you could tell that that would have been the dumbest question I freaking asked had I asked a single soul in that room. So you say patience. I said, for me, I'm more learning how to be this quietly assertive, guy, because I've always been the dude that's like, well, let me tell you how fucking awesome I am. Right. Versus, just letting the results speak for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is what I'm trying to articulate, which is really just like the results will speak for themselves.
Yeah.
And there's no real hurry about it. And there's no like overcompensation for it that's necessary. It's just, it is what it is. And I think part of that is like, I really am embracing my role as like a husband and a father. And like, you probably get the same like fulfillment from your farm and your family. And like, just that simplicity of things. Like, I don't give a fuck about all this other stuff that's going on. It's part of me. It's what I'm doing and building, and it's my reputation and everything else. People know me because of it, but also like I don't know. I have more focus and I derive more of my meaning personally from my role as a husband and a father.
I'm getting there.
Any of the other stuff.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I'm getting there. Let's be real. Building a business is the toughest thing I've ever done in my damn life, right? I mean, there's just a lot to getting a business. 1, to survive. 3, to actually be able to sustain and grow. But
did you just skip 2?
Probably.
You said 1 to 3.
Oh, well, there's the ADHD for you. Freaking right in there. So
I just knew I could poke you, Donnie.
I
That's
love it.
awesome.
I love it. So, damn, I wonder what 2 was though. But
It was good. You
that
guys
was
missed.
amazing. That was the best one. So rewind it back and you'll find the best one out of the bunch. So, but you get so vested in building your business that you can find yourself a couple years down the road without looking up.
Yes.
And I'm still learning to look up, and not be head down in all this, uh, so much so that I've got 2 different coaches that their job is to remind me to, 1, stop, observe, see the things going on, and keep me off the rails. So, these guys, all they do, like Jerry in particular, he's straight up gunslinging accountability, you
Yep.
know. But I've got to have it because, yeah, I already said I have ADHD. I'm an idea dude. I'm constantly fucking churning, and if I don't have somebody to tell me freaking, slow the roll, then I'll get myself in trouble.
Yeah. But I have learned from my own lessons and stupidity. But my children were the impetus behind that. Like, because I did spend a decade toiling and struggling with business, and not a decade, but probably a solid 4 or 5 years before I got anything figured out. And what I learned through that time is I had a bad marriage. I wasn't a great husband. I wasn't a great father. And like, I was leaving all that shit behind because I was shouldering all of this stress and anxiety about trying to figure this shit out.
Mhm.
Like, the pressure of the world felt immense. And so I did get singularly focused, and everything else be damned, because I had to figure this out. It had to work. And what I realized throughout time is that, like, throughout those years, my oldest daughter grew 5 or 6 years, right?
Mm.
And that happened real fast. And what I realized is that there was a lot of presence that I was missing. There was a lot of real life that I was allowing to pass by through trying to internalize all of this issues, all my own issues. And so throughout that time, I've kind of made a shift that, like, this 10 years or 15 years that I'm raising these kids is going to go by like no time. 20 years. Let's just call it 20 years, right? All my kids are under 10 years old. So I've got 4 kids under 10.
Nice.
And for me, like, they're going to be 20 years old in no time flat. And I'm going to be 50 and have plenty of life left in front of me to fucking do whatever I want, build whatever I want, continue all this, like, heads down rat race if I want to, right? And so, like, that realization of, like, if I continue down the road that I was going on, like, I'm gonna ruin everything else. I might pop out the back end with like a fucking million properties and everything else that I was going for, and all this success and all this money, but I was going to be a lonely man whose kids were like, well, Dad, you weren't home while I was growing up and my wife divorced me or whatever, right?
Right.
Like, that's what I would have ended up with. And so that realization was really powerful in grounding me and bringing me back to reality of, like, what's truly important. And since then, I know everybody says it that's older than you and wiser than you. This is like, put their hand on your shoulder and it's like, son, calm down. Like,
Right.
everything has come into alignment and exponentially flowed towards me. Like, different success levels, different money levels, everything just starts slotting in when you calm the fuck down. Like, for me, at least, like, when I stopped pushing on everything and just settled down and said, let it come to me, like, it really started coming to me because, one, I think I was leading differently. My presence was different. Like, you were talking about the guys in the room. I
Yep.
think I transitioned from being a fucking, like, whatever you want to call it, a grinder, battle axe, like, pusher of people and everything, to just like, I became a more attractive character to the entire universe.
Right.
It is the simplest way to put it. But my fortune has gotten exponentially better since I started focusing on the smaller things and chilling out.
I hear you. Very much the same MO. I tell everybody that the company as a whole is on a really cool tipping point, and we're about to do a massive upswing. This is why I love service-based businesses, because the overhead is just so low that scaling, once you understand the model, becomes really, really easy. Easy in theory, right? But the thing for me is I had to my wife never wants to work for the business, right?
Sure.
We don't have kids, but I use my wife as my Jiminy Cricket and my sounding board. Like, cause she's got the greatest morals on the planet. Like, she follows every rule, dots every I, cross. I'm not that guy. Never been that guy, right? I'm like, how do we get around this line? Like, I'll be that jackass that runs the side of the road all the way up until the very end, then merges in. And she's just never been that way. So for her, what's been really healthy for us is I keep slowly bringing her into the company and having more business conversations and the likes. And now I've got her convinced that she's going to go to a conference with me, so it's a little things that I'm slowly bringing her into. And our conversations have been a lot more good because she knows a lot more good. That was good English. Have been better
Yes.
because freaking she's actually given me some really, really cool advice on different things like employee issues or, different things that we're thinking about or thinking through in the business because she knows so much more that some days, man, she'll just hit me with one hell of a zinger. I'm like, right.
Yeah.
Why didn't I ask you 10 days ago, type of things. And that's been really healthy for us. I won't ever have her, per se, like on a payroll or anything, but being able to bring the family into the business, and it's
Mhm.
not something you can just cold do, right? I've been nurturing this idea along for a couple years now,
Yeah.
because I wanted something more to talk about than freaking what we both did during the day.
Yeah.
So that's how I've figured it out because I was beating the hell out of myself being around her and still thinking about the business. But, when it's your livelihood, of course you're going to think about the business. I don't believe in work-life balance. It's all freaking integrated. I just had to
Exactly.
figure out how to freaking integrate it. So that's how I did it.
Exactly. That's smart. That's smart. That was the lesson I learned too, was because like when my life was off the rails, I was compartmentalizing everything. I was trying
Mm,
to do all these different things. And I'd come home and I'd wear a different hat and I'd go to work and I'd wear a different hat. And like when we really had our big epiphany that like everything needed to change, we did integrate everything.
mm.
Like our lives flow. I mean, we homeschool our kids. I'm with my kids every single day, all day. Like I'm with my wife every single day, all day. Like the companies just operate out of our home and like we own a bunch of rental properties and manage those guys and everything else. But like everything is really just integrated. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no other way to put it. And yeah, we're kind of the same way. My wife doesn't actually technically work for me, but like she is my sounding board as well.
Mm.
Like, listen, am I being emotional about this situation? Like
Sounds like,
this
yep.
is my thought process on this. And she's like, you're a fucking idiot. And I'm
Yep.
like, okay, I needed to hear that. And she's like, go this way. And I'm like, okay, I got it. Cause I mean, we've been together almost 20 years at this point. Like she knows me better than anyone else. And
Yeah.
like,
Same.
so like, I trust that feedback more than anything. It's
I,
invaluable for what
100%. I jokingly tell her, the movie, The Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler, there's a scene in there where Julia is, gonna marry that really rich dude, and that rich dude looks at Adam Sandler and goes, "Of course I'm gonna marry her. Of course I'm gonna keep her around. She knew me before I had my money." And I tell my wife that all the time. I'm like, "Baby, don't worry. I'll keep you around. And I had you before I had any money." But it's the same thought process. We've been together going on 20 years, been married, it'll be 18 this year. And when you have something that you've been invested that long, there is that very cool trust factor. It's that there's no alternative motive to it. when the advice comes through. You may not
Yeah.
always want to hear the advice, but it's good when it does come through.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also good for your relationship when she thinks that her opinion is valued. Because I
Yeah.
think when I was struggling and I didn't want to hear any advice that anybody else had to say, quite frankly, let
Yeah.
alone my wife's advice. I'm like, you're not fucking there 16 hours a day. Like, this sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What's this year, my wife Elizabeth, what, 3 months ago now, was able to quit her job, and now she runs a farm full time,
Awesome.
which is a big milestone we were working on, and it's helped our relationship in one regard. She was gone during the day. She managed a vet clinic, and you know, uh, had no idea what my day looks like. And
Yeah.
now she gets to see that I'm sitting right here grinding my ass off, doing all this, and then spend the afternoons and evenings with her. And the weekends are always hers. But she sees the hard work. She's only been able to see the results of the hard work. But now she gets to see the hard work and the things that I'm doing
That's
every
awesome.
day. But it's been really cool to have.
Congratulations getting her out of her job. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's another big part of it. Like, a lot of times couples go along and like, I set my goals, she sets her goals, and like I go out and fucking kill it. And like, until like you oftentimes don't pay attention to the goals your spouse has.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, and a lot of times we don't even mention like, hey, do you want to work or not work? And like, then she's sitting over there feeling an obligation to work, like the money she brings in is like necessary for the house. And with a simple conversation, you could say, well, no, I could go get more money. And like, if you don't want to do that anymore, and like, I feel we have that conversation constantly in my men's group that I run, like, because a lot of times men are in the position I was in like 10 years ago, not having that conversation.
Yep.
And just simple miscommunication is like, well, I thought we needed this couple $1,000. And I'm like,
Dude,
fuck.
I would tell you guys that one of the greatest things you can do for your marriage is go on an evening walk every day.
I love that.
Like, no phones. I mean, we'll have them on us, but we're not freaking listening to anything. We just go walk and talk. And I'll tell you, even after 18 years of marriage, when we first started doing it, it wasn't easy because
Yeah.
we just weren't used to sitting down and talking to each other. You learn to talk about work, and you learn to talk about crappy things at your job and whatnot, not life in general. So going on those walks have been extremely healthy for us. And well, it's our healthy thing too, right? We get to do it together. So now I'm trying to decide, should we sign up to do a 5K just to go all in and go fucking crazy with it?
Yes. Yes.
So that's the next thing on the agenda.
When are you doing it?
I have to find one, and I'm not committing to shit right now because I haven't totally convinced her to do it. So if I commit now and be like, hey, babe, guess what? We're doing a 5K. I'm going to get the long, skinny middle finger.
Well, you've got to lead by example, and then she'll show up when she knows you're committed. So like, if you need to go, you need to go first, dude.
That's valid. That's valid. I'll take that.
I like that. I like that. So tell me this, Donnie. If you were building a business, okay, and you were trying to grow it in the first 12 months, okay, and you were coming into your program, the networking B2B program, what is the number one thing you would do to accelerate success as quickly as possible in that business? If you were consulting me,
Yep.
as
It's a long answer to an easy question. It's building a personal brand, but it's through a very specific strategy.
Ooh,
So there's only 3 levers you can use to actually build a personal brand, right? And I love telling people this, and I'll just give you the example. I'll just ask you, and this is how I explain to everybody else. Tony Robbins, love him or hate him, I don't care. What's Tony's business? I'm asking you. I want to know what you think Tony Robbins' business actually is, Jeff. So
event coordinating,
right?
Not
People usually say something with events, or they say motivational speaker, something along those lines. Tony's got 101 businesses to the tune of about $7 billion. And then I ask people to name one of his business, and nobody can do it.
Yep.
And so here's the thing. Tony's got one responsibility is running all those companies. That one responsibility is to be the face of Tony Robbins. Like, we know that if you go to TonyRobbins.com and you request a coach, unless you're ponying up millions of dollars, you're not going to get Tony as your coach, right? So Tony's built an empire on building the personal brand of Tony Robbins. So for anybody to find success, whether they were coming to my program or any program out there, the greatest thing they have to do is build their personal brand. What are the stories and things people say about you when you're not around? That's a personal brand.
Okay.
So there's 3 levers. The first lever is some sort of form of cold outreach. This could be emailing, this could be cold connecting, door to door, somewhere where you're reaching out to people who have never heard your name, your brand, your story, your stuff, and told them about the business, told them what you were into, and getting them to lean in. The second thing you can do, I call it hand raising. And hand raising is putting out original thought content that teaches people the things you've learned so they can raise their hand and say, I'm interested and want to learn more. So this could be getting on stages, getting on podcasts, putting on social content, writing articles, blogs, anywhere where you can put out original thought. What people don't do in this day and age is they don't teach original thought. And original thought is those things that you've learned and figured out. Since we talked about Hormozi earlier, we can use him as a prime example. Hormozi just came out with his new book launch, and he taught this whole book strategy, right? And how to do marketing and all the likes. A lot of people are now, if you go watch, are already going to be repackaging up to everything Tony just put together, or Alex Hormozi put together, and they're teaching exactly what Alex taught them. That's not original thought. Original thought would be you take Alex's stuff, you go study it, you put it into action, and you go, okay, this doesn't work for me. I don't understand this section. So you start tweaking and you start adjusting, and you take the stuff that Alex gave you and you figure out how to make it actually work, tweak it and build your own process. Then you teach that to somebody else, right? The moment you actually learn it and then teach it to somebody else, now it's original thought. And then the last thing you got to have in the mix is you got to be networking. And networking, you've got to be at a level that people just don't understand. You know, you heard Jeff talk about being that connector. The idea is you've got to be a connector of people, right? And that means right people, right, opportunities, right situations. And to do that, you've got to be able to get into rooms with people that intimidate the hell out of you. You've got to be able to get in rooms with people that are doing the things that you want to be doing. And oftentimes that requires a large investment to get into those rooms. And so you've got to be leveling up your game to get around the people that are doing the things you want. And the ultimate goal here is, by being the connector, is the best form of getting people to talk about you better than anything else on the planet. Because if you're opening doors for people, you're helping them get in the right conversations, the right people, all of that, you're going to stay top of mind. And by staying top of mind, you can be a personal brand. So I tell everybody, if you want to pull those 3 levers, you should every day on LinkedIn. I'm LinkedIn heavy because I'm staying at B2B game is on LinkedIn. You should know the top 3 to 5 industries that are also targeting your perfect clientele. Like they're going after your ideal client. You should every day send 20 freaking connections on LinkedIn to the people in those industries, not the end user clients, the people that are working or targeting your perfect client. No message, no note, just 20 off. The next day after you post those 20 on the cold outreach, go back and see who connected with you and literally just send a message that said, hey, thanks for connecting. How did you get into insert whatever their industry is? Okay. And all you're doing is breaking the ice and getting conversations going. You should then on LinkedIn, and I'm serious about this, you spend 10 minutes commenting on posts. You should then post your own post and then spend an additional 10 minutes commenting on post. That takes me about 30 minutes every morning to do that. And all you're doing is you're upping your influence and, engaging the algorithm to say, hey, I'm active, I'm doing things, and showing out content. You take the original thought content, the things you learn, and you teach them every day in story form. Come follow my stuff and rip it off, steal it all you want to. Just see how I do it every day. I've grown by 9,000 followers on LinkedIn using this strategy this year. I've averaged 1,000 followers a month. Then, for networking, if you're networking and you're really doing it from a business, you need to be a part of an association. You need to have a networking group. You need to have a nonprofit you're working with. You need to be in private clubs, so your cigar lounges and the likes, and you need to be getting around people that are investing to get to certain locations. If the stuff is free, there won't be enough valuable people around it to get in there. But if you do those three things, you will change the dynamics of your personal brand and watch how fast your business grows. So that's what we teach most people and how to get really dialed in, not only in our world, but wherever you are in the world.
I love it. I love it. He just dropped the game. I hope people are still here. That was the quality 8 minutes right there. That was awesome. I've been preaching to people to build their personal brand for years, and it usually falls on deaf ears.
Yeah.
Because younger entrepreneurs don't understand the value of it. But it really is the most important thing you can be doing, because you have no idea what opportunities are going to present themselves and what you're going to be doing in 5 years from now. I mean, Donnie's story is a prime example. 2016, he's doing podcast training and sales consulting up until 2020. And now you don't have any of those businesses. Yeah. You're running something else that's a multiple of success, more successful than those two.
Yep.
And you're in a completely different industry. It's the same thing. Like, I invest in real estate right now, but like 5 years from now, who knows what I'm going to do? It really is your resume too. Like
100%.
We raise money for different projects I work on. And like anybody that's investing with me, if they don't know me personally, the first thing they're going to do is go seek me out on social media. And they're going to say, has this fucking guy done real estate before? Or like, no, like there's no pictures of any real estate. What's going on? Like this is his first deal. Okay. That's weird. And so like, I truly think that you're more strategic and tactical than I even tell people they need to be, but people need to understand who you are. And I believe this going forward as well, because I believe that people are more selective with who they spend their money with right now. And I think that trend will only continue.
I agree.
So if you run a small business and you don't need to be the titular head of your organization, but I think people need to understand who you are, because most people are going to come seek you out and find out more about you before they pay for your products, especially if you're in the industry like you're dealing with when you're talking about $50,000 and $100,000 contracts, like
all day long.
So,
yeah. I mean, if you look at it this way, just to kind of wrap this all up, people are going to be talking about you one way or the other.
Yep.
You might as well help them with the conversation. So, it's amazing. Look what Hormozy did, right? He did the biggest book launch in history, all because he's been spending the last 4 years building out a following, building out an audience, getting completely dialed in with his avatar. And so by the time he said, "Hey, I'm launching a book," Mosey Nation moved in and he moved mountains. I mean, it was pretty impressive to watch.
It was an incredible deal. 60 million people or whatever came to it. Wild. Okay, Donnie, I don't want to drag this on any longer. I apologize. This has been awesome, but you're fun to talk to. Where can people find you?
Yeah, the best thing you can do is text the word success to 817-318-6030. And I'll send you back a video and it'll give you all my social media. So text the word success to 817-318-6030. But guys, before you do that, one thing I want you to do is, if you stuck around this long with Jeff and I on the Tactical Empire, I want you guys to take a screenshot of wherever you're listening to this, post it on social media, tag me and Jeff in it. I promise if you tag me in it, I will comment, I will find it. But one of the greatest things in the world you can do for Jeff is tell other people about this damn show. And one of the coolest way to do it is just take a screenshot wherever you're listening to it, tag us both in there. We'll come comment, we'll come engage, and we'll know that you guys are into this type of content, and it'll help him grow his damn show.
And I appreciate that. Thank you. That was 817-318-6030. Text success.
That's it.
Donnie, thank you so much for your time, man. Congratulations on all your growth. I'll definitely be following you. Maybe I'll hit you up next time we're in Fort Worth.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you for listening to the show. Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. We'll see you on the next episode of the Tactical Empire.